Welcome to Poor People's Revolutionary Radio special Zoom series. You can find our weekly radio broadcast Tuesday 6 to 9 p.m. California time and Thursday 4 to 7 p.m. Streaming at www.poormagazine.org/radio or on the dial in Oakland at 96.1 FM. All of the Katrina to Corona Zoom broadcasts are available at Poor News Network channel on YouTube or poormagazine.org TV on our website. And I am a haircut away from the Black Cripple. Who's this? Who's my co-host?
Happy Mamaz Day, everybody out there on these digital streets in this pandemic. I'm a poverty scholar, that houseless mama, that houseless daughter, and yeah, raising up and lifting up all of us poor mamas, all of our ancestor mamas, all the mamas who've been through more struggle than we even want to mention, but we keep on keeping on by any means necessary. Welcome to From Katrina to Corona, Government Solutions versus Poor People Solutions to COVID-19 and the virus of poverty. It's our Po Mama's Day special. Po Mamas take back stolen and hoarded land, homes, and hotel rooms. And we have some amazing, beautiful poverty and indigenous scholars from occupied Huichin to Lenape territory. That's from Oakland to Philly. Sherry Honkala, powerful poverty scholar from the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign and the Poor People's Army. Karina Gould, land liberator and prayer bringer from Segurite Land Trust and West Berkeley Shell Mound, and so much more, and Homefulness. Andrea Hansen will be joining us from Where Do We Go Berkeley, taking back occupied Huichin for unhoused peoples. The beautiful and amazing Cooper from Reclaim SF, who just put back some stolen and hoarded homes in occupied Yulamu, that's Frisco. And the beautiful Tanika Blue, a poet and healer from Homefulness Decolonize Academy, and so many more. Audrey Candycorn from Taz Foundation and Homefulness and Decolonize, and both part of the powerful move of the Stolen Land Hoarded Resources Tour. We are also joined, of course, with your beautiful poverty indigenous scholars, Muteado Silencio right here, who, you know, we broadcasting live from this small piece of liberated Ohlone Lishan land that we call a homeless people's solution to homelessness, AKA homefulness.
Hey, what's up, familia? Again, happy Mother's Day, Feliz Dia de las Madres. Again, to ground us today on a special theme since Mama Earth Day 2016, Poor Magazine, Poverty and Indigenous Scholars has been touring, hoarding neighborhoods across occupied Turtle Island to share the medicine of community reparations and radical redistribution.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What a beautiful day to be here. I want to say that we've been building Homefulness for the last 7 years, but we've been here in this site for the last 5 years. In the last 5 years, we have not seen one soul utilize this empty lot, right? So what a beautiful concept that we can come as a community to even use it, to prayer, to put the prayers in the community.
Hi, my name is Brenda Petrie. and I'm from all over, I guess. And I'm happy to be here. This is the first time that I ever experienced something like this. When you guys were at the house speaking, I was on the porch crying because it really touched my heart. You know, we all have dreams. We all have dreams.
Oh my God.
And the dreams can come true when we believe in ourselves and where we come from and who we are.
All right, so we're gonna, hold on, I'm gonna go one more here. Just give me a sec.
I can hear you now.
Okay. I don't know if that's right. I can do this.
That's an event page.
Oh, thanks. That helps. Okay. Hold on a sec. 120.
We acknowledge them.
Not so long ago, 125 unhoused, neurodivergent, terrified, traumatized by capitalism, destroyed by this system of colonial corporate development, were dragged out of this building that we're standing in front of so that this could be built. Me and Mama used to sleep here because it was the only place where you could guarantee that there would be light and heat and you wouldn't freeze to death on the street. So we stand in front of the icon of development and the icon of removal. And we honor with love and respect and humility the ancestors who died because of that removal, because when you are struggling in that deep of a level, you do not make it.
Opportunities, but that's for limited time, right? Because you're disposable to them. No more displacement.
Oh. What is it, Chrome?
I want to also bring the spirit of Papa Bear, who was a former member of Poor Magazine, houseless brother, who had over 230 something tickets for being and sleeping and being existing in these streets of San Francisco. And he will speak about how he was swept in power wash.
Sidewalks by DPW, by other black and brown men saying, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job. And so I want to bring Papa Bear, you know, who was so sweet, who even after he was being power washed and being kicked out, he would say, they're just doing their job. I just move it along somewhere else. May he rest in peace, Papa Bear.
And we're going to continue around these stolen streets where east isn't really east and south isn't really south until we get to the mouth. So there you go. The sun saved the day.
Of course.
That's why we have, that's why us mamas have children.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Hey, we love you, Tibu. So we're going to stop there. And we're talking about why are we bringing these things up? Well, the reality is right now, in this COVID-19 crisis, the virus called poverty never ended, right? So we have the same situation. And the point of this series is to lift up the ways that we can actually build our own, take back this occupied land, and we have been doing that. Poor People's been creating our own solutions since forever. as well as indigenous peoples taking care of Mama Earth from the beginning. So to start us in a good way, and as protocol always, as we asked permission before we even came here to Occupied Huichin, we want to ask Sister Katrina if you can start us off by talking about the land reclamation work that Sogorea Land Trust has been doing as indigenous native run movement, and also other land reclamation.
Oh, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Mother's Days. That's quite a bit to come behind and to listen to all of those stories. So, I'm trying to take a deep breath about that because we're in the middle of a bunch of crazy mess happening right now. And, I was on the land all day yesterday on a piece of land that we're taking care of in Albany, planting food for the next wave of what's going to happen to us. I was at LaShawn at our arbor, putting down prayers and watering the plants that are going to sustain us during this next wave. And I was having a conversation with a friend that many of us know, Rupa Myra, Dr. Rupa Myra, and Rupa of the April Fishes today as well, and trying to talk about some of the things that was happening. And she asked me, she's like, was there such a thing as homelessness before settlers got here, before colonizers got here? And if you think about the Bay Area, and I think that, folks that are tuning in might know a little bit about the Bay Area, but the LaShawn Ohlone people from this territory, prior to colonization, there was no such thing as homelessness. And there was no concept of that. There was no concept of hunger. In 200 short years, what has happened in this territory, what we call now the Bay Area, has changed drastically. It has covered almost all of our territory in cement and asphalt and buildings, and nothing is breathing. The earth isn't breathing anymore, except for the last couple of months when we all were forced to take a break and to begin to realize a different future, a future of going backwards in order to go forwards, a future of giving the earth time to breathe, a future of allowing other beings that were here on this earth before us to have the space that they should have available. So we see our waters that are clearing up, our skies are clearing up, the earth is healing herself. And it meant that we needed to slow down as human beings. And for me, it means as human beings, we need to go back into, find our space back in that circle of creation again. Human beings have forgotten that we are a part of creation. We always think about going out into nature rather being a part of nature. And so Sogorea Land Trust really started over 2 decades ago, because if you can believe, we actually went through this as Ohlone people in our territory a few hundred years ago when colonization came and they brought all of these diseases to our lands. So in the missions where we were enslaved at, Mission San Jose and Fremont, Mission Dolores in San Francisco, where my ancestors were directly enslaved at, we went through waves of smallpox and measles and influenza and wiped out almost our entire population during those times, but yet we survived. And so really there's a thread of hope in there that we went from being 100% of the population to 5% of the population, and we're still here. So that we know that our ancestors have a purpose for us being here, the work that's happening here. We talk about reclamation or rematriation of land and bringing back the histories and the songs and the dances back into this land, that so that we can all heal, all of us that are living here together now. And so it really is about reminding ourselves what it is to be human being again. And that means that it's our responsibility to take care of one another, to take care of the land, to take care of the four-leggeds that have a spirit, the plants that have spirit, the, all of the ceremonial places that have spirit, which means our sacred site, which is why I and many of you that are out there today have stood with me for 4 years to protect the West Berkeley Shell Mound. It is why when our lives were crossed with folks from Poor Magazine came and stood with us when we were standing for Segurite in Vallejo, California. It is why people are standing for Mauna Kea and that sacred site in Hawaii, and for our brothers and sisters in West Papua who is fighting fascism and a regime that is taking away their rights to be human beings. You know, as we begin to connect all of these places and these traditional healers, people that are taking care of the Amazon for us in order for us to breathe, people like the Winnemem-Wintu who are standing up for the salmon, because the health of the salmon dictates the health of the waters and also the health of human beings. And so it's important for us to also reclaim our lands that are here and to come back into right relationship. So Segurite Land Trust was set up as a way to rematriate land. It's not repatriate. It's about women taking over the land, not because we don't want to work with our brothers and sisters, our brothers, our uncles, our grandpas, our sons. It's to bring them along because there has been a disjointedness that happened because of colonization. That there needs to be a balance brought back together. And at this time and ceremony, we are told that it's time for women to stand up in our rightful place to take that balance back. And when we look at what happened because of colonization, because of heteropatriarchy, because of the disease of greed, we know whatever happened to the lands, the buying and selling of lands, the raping and extraction of resources, the terrifying things that happen. The same things that happened to land has also happened upon women and children's bodies. And so it is time for us now to examine that and to go back into back to the places that we need to center what it's like to take care of. Whenever there is matriarchy, when women are in charge of taking care of community, everybody has a place and everyone is fed. That is not true when we are looking at the world today. We are looking today at the face of fascism and what is now called the United States sitting upon Turtle Island. We are looking at fascism that's happening all over the world in many, many countries. And so it is now time for us to stand alongside our young people, not to hand this off to them, but to stand alongside them to ensure that they have better water and better air and better soil and better ways of living than we do today. Today it's our responsibility, and I really, I have so much respect for the people that are the frontline workers that are working with our brothers and sisters that are living without a roof over their head right now. That it is our responsibility. Too many times right now, what's happening is that we have become desensitized to people that are on the lands, that are living right here next door to us and are not taking care of one another. And so, I have respect for the moms that took over the house. I have respect for people that are looking at different ways of doing it. We need to be able, as Indigenous people, as people of color, poor people, to stand up against the fascism that's happening now, to not go back to the colonized ways that all of a sudden made people not essential, is now requiring them to be essential in order for this cog to continue to work to fight to create the capitalism that wants to run this world. It's not working, and we've seen it begin to break down over the last few months, and we can see, if we open our eyes, a better future, a different future, a future that is inclusive of all people. We've seen, because of the last few months, that the prison systems don't work. We've seen that the food systems are breaking down. We see all of these things around us. And so now it's time for us to stand up, to do the work that we've said that, that we've been talking about for years, to feed the people, to house the people, to create communities, to create places that are inclusive to all, because we know that we can do it in smaller communities, not in a huge, large vacuum of a capitalist society. And so the rematriation of the land is the beginning of that. It's
Okay.
about bringing back the culture, bringing back the songs and ceremonies so that we can be in balance with one another again, so that we can go forward, so our ancestors can see that we see them, so that they in turn can see us.
Oh.
Powerful.
I just want to say also that for folks who don't know, Karina's powerful work has guided us at Homefulness from day one. And as we're in those streets, being those frontline worker every day, we walk humbly on Mama Earth in all part of this occupied Ohlone Lashon territory. Yeah, just thank you for all of the guidance,
Yes.
Karina, and the prayers, because that's the only way that we can do this in a good way.
Yeah, and I really want to thank you to being accessible too. You know, Karina, your work is accessible to everybody, and especially people with disabilities. So thank you. You know, we would like to invite on from Philly, warrior and Poe's single mother, Sherry Alcala, to talk about her story of home reclaiming of her organization, the first Poor People's March, not the Foundation March.
A real Poor People's March, not the Ford Foundation March.
Come on and speak to us.
Had to say it, fam. Had to go there.
Yeah.
Take it away, Sherry.
Hello. Thank you for that introduction, Leroy.
Oh,
So, you know, it's hard to follow up on the words of wisdom and knowledge from Karina, but I will try giving acknowledgement to the Lenape land that I stand on. The members of poor and homeless people across this country have been, you know, housing ourselves in organized and some disorganized ways for you know, since the beginning of time, whether it's knowing on this block or that block that people have, you know, moved themselves into houses or have reclaimed land or set up tents behind a McDonald's or whatever. But I am proud to say that from the time that I became homeless with my 9-year-old son some 30-some years ago, out of necessity, because I didn't want to freeze to death in the wintertime in Minnesota, I began taking over houses, and it went from 1 or 2 houses a week to we began to take over hundreds and hundreds of houses. And it's really important that while we are so excited by the takeovers that are beginning to happen in different parts of the country right now, but that we also draw on that history, very important history, because we have lots of lessons. Most of my arrests, I have 200 arrests, and I'm currently still in court with Housing and Urban Development. They found me guilty about 1.5 years ago when we went on a Poor People's March to Washington, D.C., and we went into the building of the criminals at Housing and Urban Development, and I was arrested. They found me guilty of a misdemeanor, and we have First Amendment lawyers that are trying to appeal the case right now because of the coronavirus stuff. That, you know, that legal fight is still on hold. But I think, you know, it's really a time now that we begin to that we begin to reclaim land in an organized fashion, continue to reclaim land for our brothers and sisters to have some place to sleep, that we learn the lessons of poor women that have been taking over properties for years, but you'll never hear about us on CNN or Time Magazine or anything like that. Because if you talk about who funds social control in this country, you will never end up in any kind of publication whatsoever. And so we are very thankful from learning from an African American women's organization many years ago called Incite, where Black women got together and formed an organization. And then the Ford Foundation gave them a bunch of money, and then they pulled out the money at the last minute. And what they decided to do was to hold a conference to expose what the Ford Foundation had done and how philanthropy hurts what we're trying to do. And it's so frustrating because right now they're talking about mutual aid as something that was started yesterday. Many of us have been practicing mutual aid of helping to feed, clothe, and house our brothers and sisters our whole lives. And so mutual aid is not a new phenomenon. It might be because there's a bunch, there's millions of new folks that haven't had to stand in food lines or haven't had to, participate in rent strikes or, take over abandoned houses, those kinds of things. But I just want to extend an invitation that the day before the opening of the Democratic National Convention, we are planning to take up from 30 years ago. Us along with a few members of the other members of the Homeless Union, when they were strong for a little bit many years ago. We got together, and on May 1st, about 30 some years ago, we planned coordinated housing takeovers in about 28 cities across the country. Well, we intend to do that national coordination of housing takeovers again. We plan to plan it on August 16th. Because we definitely know the direction that things are going in this country, and there's more abandoned houses and luxury units than there are homeless people. And I remember in an encampment I was at once here in Philly, and two women came, and one woman was from Sweden, the other woman was from Brazil. And at the encampment, the woman from Sweden started crying, and we asked her why she was crying, and she said she couldn't believe that people had adjusted to such a lower standard of living. And the woman from Brazil was crying, and we asked her why she was crying, and she said, I can't believe why poor and homeless people in the belly of the beast don't just get organized and take back the abundance. And that's what we've been trying to do all this time. Is that, for the last 30 years, we are constantly hiding people, creating the new Underground Railroad, and daily putting people into abandoned properties in order to keep people alive, in order to keep them away from domestic violence, in order to keep them from freezing to death, and in order for them to take care of themselves and to take care of their children. And so that's what the majority of my and many other members of this movement in different parts of the country who you will never hear about, except for here, because of Poor Magazine. That's where you got to get your news to find out who's really doing what. So we're, you know, modern day fugitives.
Oh.
And we're hoping that people can pass on the real history of the heroines that are, you know, some of the most amazing warriors that each and every day house people in different parts of the country, and absolutely nobody knows about it, nobody hears about it, but they literally keep people alive.
Oh.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Just also to just lift up for folks who want to know more, Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign, maybe Sherry, you can put it in the chat. And I know that we have some very fierce mamas on this group, as well as just fierce women and men and revolutionaries. And we all have a lot to say. So I apologize for some of you are taking a little longer than we have, but I want to ask if folks can try to keep comments, try to keep their words to like maybe under 5 minutes, just to make sure we have time for everybody. And we're gonna call on two powerful warriors who have walked with myself and Katrina and Lori, Ibaye, and Mutiado, and so many more in the Stolen Land Hoarded Resources tours that we've been doing since 2016. And walked with their own message and walked with their own power and brought song and poetry. So maybe you can unmute both Mama Blue and beautiful sister Audrey Candy Corn.
Yep, I'm me now.
Mama Blue, maybe you can talk a little bit about the Stolen Land Hoarded Resources tour, and then Mama Audrey Candy Corn, you can talk a little bit too.
Peace, love, and light, family. I'm here in the kitchen cooking for my mama. And thank you, Katrina and Sherry and Tiny and Poor Magazine for all of the work that is done. Because there's so many mamas, you know. There are so many mamas that have been silent and struggle every day, you know, in more ways than it's so. With a definitely a gratitude to be on this call today, because every time I'm with Poor, I learn something new. And because of us honoring poverty scholarship, it has created an opportunity on so many levels with the digital, you know, revolutionary news and the platform that has been created by houseless mamas, houseless papas, uncles, aunties, cousins, all over the nation. And when we are able to connect and build, we do have the power. So in the tenderness of all that I'm feeling in my heart as I listen to the shares, we just say thank you. And with the Stolen Land Tour, it has definitely helped us understand why it's so important for us to reclaim Mama Earth in a way that creates homes and shelter and food and community and family and village for those that have felt like they've been thrown away.
Oh.
So in all of that, I just want to say we will continue to do the work. We will continue to stand on the front line, and we will continue to unite, educate, empower, and liberate.
Oh.
One love.
Oh. Mama Audrey.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. I want to say thank you for having this call because it is so very, very important for us to continue to stay connected. And my phone just literally just disconnected. I can't see you guys, but are you still there?
Yeah, we hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, then that still works. Wonderful. So, as far as the stolen land tours that we have been doing and just taking back Mama Earth and sharing how to redistribute the land and some of the wealth that people have is really important. The work that Homefulness does, Tiny, Katrina, I don't want to get to saying names, but just all of us as a collective, because also we have individual organizations as well, but we all come together for the greater good, which is trying to sustain life as best as we can. So I just think that it's very important for each of one of us to self-preserve, number one. Also continue to be your brothers and your sisters keeper. As we are on the front line, understand your position, because everybody is not meant to be on the front line. It's not to be televised, but we all are in a position right now. We're doing it through Zoom, and Google is listening in. However, God's people will always reign. And so with that being said, I personally have benefited from being a part of this culture, and I want to say thank you all. I don't want to take up too much time, but we all have our individual parts that we have to play, and now is the time not to lay down.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you, Candy Corn.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And for folks to look at some of the Stolen Land Hoarded Resources tours, they're on our Poor News Network channel, but you can also just look up Stolen Land Hoarded Resource. But both Audrey Candy Corn, Mama Blue, and all the youth scholars, Amir Zaire, Tibu, Chemo, Akil, Amin Ra, so many more are part of all of us and who walk into these wealth hoarding neighborhoods and share that medicine of radical redistribution, which in and of itself is an act of resistance and is leading to the degentrifying of Mama Earth. It's not just an act. We never do anything for the sake of it. It's to bring the medicine and the prayer, but also to actually liberate Mama Earth. And with that, I want to just let Andrea Hansen and Cooper, so there's two more powerful folks we've got here. Andrea Hansen and if Cooper, if you can stand by, because you'll be right after. But Andrea Hansen is doing this powerful work, my Boricua sister, my Taino sister, in occupied Huichin, a self-determined work of resisting the absolute desecration and, basically destruction that Caltrans, we know those, the state workers do every day, of sweeping us poor people like we are trash. And in occupied Huichin, under the freeway, Sister Andrea has worked with unhoused scholars to actually do their own work. Take it away, Andrea.
Thank you, Tiny. I just want to tell everybody, thank you for having me, and to all the mothers, happy Mama's Day. And especially I want us to take a minute, just a real quick moment of silence for all the mothers of brown and Black children that have been killed by senseless acts of racial violence and discrimination.
Oh.
Thank you. We've had so many that have been hunted down, and we're working to change that. Now, in terms of Berkeley, we have negotiated with Caltrans to haul away trash. This is a first ever where no one has had to move. We have used our donations to hire contractors, to hire residents who I paid market rate, not minimum wage, market rate to clean each encampment. We put the trash in designated areas. One resident worked so hard that they want to certify him and hire him, the contractors. It was amazing. And so that goes against everything, the stereotypes that are on next door, that the residents are filthy, that they don't want to clean. You can't keep clean if you don't have regular trash pickup. If we didn't have the privilege of regular trash pickup, our homes and the grounds would look the same because the wind blows trash. People, yesterday I was there dropping off food, and people were dropping off all of these kids' clothes like it's the Goodwill, and you have to find somewhere to put that when you don't have, you know, trash cans and whatnot. So we've really changed the dynamic in Berkeley. If you go to the sites, you'll see it's really clean. We moved people under freeways where some of the fences happen to be open now. And so we were able to give everyone a new tent. We're also following up with more food, more heaters. The issue that we are dealing with, though, is helping people who are being released from the hotels in Oakland. I had one young woman, you know, because when you show COVID symptoms, you get placed in a hotel in Oakland, but no one is thinking about what's happening to people when they're released.
Thank you.
And they're being released with nothing. So I found a woman bleeding because she was on her menstrual cycle. She had no clothes. She was in a tent without a rain fly in a lawn chair. She was just released from Oakland. That's all she had. I had to bring a tent, heater, clothes, water, underwear, everything. And we had another gentleman in a similar situation. So now I'm talking to the city about, and city officials about how we can prepare for this new wave of people now who are being released from the hotels. Because if you're in a shelter, they'll send you back to the shelter after you've gone. But if you're in a tent, you go back to nothing because you can only take 64 gallons, one garbage bag worth of stuff. You typically can't take your tent. So this is an important day. I'm glad that I'm able to be here with you, family, and Mutiado, hey, and everybody on the hello. And it's just a real blessing and to have this moment because tomorrow we have to be right out there. Caltrans is coming to pick up the trash. Nothing stops, but we're fortunate because each trash pickup is $30,000. Now, City of Berkeley will say that's Caltrans' job because the people are on the property, but that's not true. Caltrans is actually working with us. It's City of Berkeley that has pushed everyone out of Berkeley onto that property. But fortunately, we took over. We've put in 10 porta potties with hand washing stations, some of them. We have a lot of resources. We now have petitioned for lifelong to do street medicine. People are getting things taken care of that weren't done before. And I want you to check out our new form that we funded called WeGotYouBerkeley.com. It's a form for everyone. You can access it. You can, for every unhoused person in Berkeley, get supplies, tents, medical care, telemedicine, COVID support. You can get harm reduction needles right to you if you fill out the form, and we'll bring it to your campsite or bring it to the street or bring it to the encampment. So we're really excited about that. It's something new. It's all volunteer run, not city, no government. It was all privately funded. It follows all HIPAA regulations. We launched it 2 days ago. So I'm really happy.
Wow. Andrea, you rock.
Yes.
People should check out Where Do We Go, Berkeley, powerful work. And they always need help as well. And this, again, is a people-led solution.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
the government is and was sweeping us poor folk like we are trash. And with that, I want to bring in...
Diane, I want to add that in the last 2 weeks, 3 Black disabled men got stopped by police in Berkeley in the last 2 weeks, including myself on my bike.
That's right.
So, you know, people think Berkeley is, you know, a liberal college town. No, it's not, you know.
It's not. It's changed.
Black disabled men get stopped all the time in Berkeley.
Yeah. Hip-hop-crazy Berkeley is what I call it. And it really
That's right.
It really is. Thank you, Andrea, and hope you stay with us because I know some people wanted to ask questions. But let me bring in a powerful warrior, another houseless, landless warrior sis from Frisco, Occupy Yalamu, who just recently, along with some other cats, actually reclaimed a hoarded home in that elite gentrification city that we all, most of us, can no longer be. Cooper, welcome to the whole conversation.
Okay, so where's Cooper again?
Right. They're right there in the Brady Bunch, right under you.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, Cooper.
Sorry, Cooper.
My cat. All right, there we go. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thank you for having me. All right, so what do you want me to say?
Well, Cooper, maybe you could talk about why you guys decided to take that house back and what it was like.
You know, one of the things. Sorry, my cat keeps getting in the way. One of the things is it's important for San Francisco is I think why we did what we did was because San Francisco is lacking the ability to understand what it's like to be homeless or to be unhoused in San Francisco. London Breed is just really sitting on her ass doing nothing. I can curse in here, right? Or can I not?
Try not to, because it's going to go on FCC Diet.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I just want to make sure. Yes. So London Breed has a real issue with unhoused folks. She just really refuses to do anything. I mean, every little thing that she has money in her pockets. The city has all this money sitting there waiting, and she keeps fighting everyone when it comes to getting us housed. I mean, and even when the supervisors had to all unanimously vote, all 11 to 1 to 0, you know, they all together for her to house, you know, unhoused folks in the hotels. I mean, she still is bucking up against it, you know. So San Francisco is just, and our city leaders are having a really hard time getting it, you know what I mean? And it's, you know, I'm a Pisces, okay? I'm a sensitive person, okay? So here's the thing. I give a heck about people, you know, around me. And so maybe I'm just a little too sensitive, but like I'm out here, I'm on the street, I see what's up. I don't see why they don't get it. And that's the hard part is that when we're out here suffering and we're you know, as myself, I'm out there every day. I'm a street medic, you know, and I go out to the encampments every single day. I'm helping people, but I don't see no city leaders out there. I don't see London Breed out there walking around asking people what they need or what they want. No, you know, never. Unless there's a camera around, then she'll be out there. You know what I mean? But what we need, you know, we need like, you know, just heart. We need people to have guts and they're, you know, to give a heck about their neighbors. And one of the things is why we took over that house was because people aren't believing what's happening to us out here, out on the street. People, oh, that can't be happening. The cops aren't doing that. DPW's not doing that. Man, you know, they think we're lying. Like, why would we lie about that? You know, why would we lie about this, that? You know, so it's like to take over that house was something, and it was only for a short amount of time, but you know what? It brought a lot of attention to what's exactly happening. It's like, and people stopped and they like stopped and looked and they paid attention. They stood and they watched what happened. And that was something that I haven't seen in a long time, that just neighbors were coming and asking the cops, why are you there? Why are you protecting, you know, for people that get involved that didn't really know anything about what was happening that day was amazing to see, you know, that people are starting to get it, that being part of a community and being and helping your neighbor is real. And that's what the one thing I really wanted with people to learn something, to educate themselves, but also to care. You know, I mean, human kindness it goes a long way, and that's one of the things that was huge for me. That looking out of that window and seeing all of those people out there was the most amazing and a heartfelt thing I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? And that was something that affected me. It still affects me. You know what I mean? Just people I didn't even know were out there cheering for us, and while the cops are standing there, the big long 27 cops were sitting there, you know, in front of that house that day, and just sitting there for what? You know, for what? Yeah. For nothing, to protect a house that's been sitting vacant for 4 years. You know what I mean? So it just blew my mind that the people are out there like, hey, we got your back. Cooper, like, hey, you know, Jess, Cooper, we got your back. And people were chanting it, and that feeling was like so amazing to see that. It's just showing that our community is growing and becoming better. It just sucks that our city leaders have to be, you know, idiotic and not getting it. How can everyone else can get it, but not our city leaders or London Breed for that much? You know what I mean? So it's I wish there was a way to get them to like, you know, plug into all of our brains and they can see what the real deal is. You know what I mean? Because they're not getting it, and it's very hard to deal with. And I love my city. I love San Francisco. I'm down for my city, but you know, I can't. I'm embarrassed by my city. I'm embarrassed by my city, you know what I mean? And I love my city. So, yeah.
I just want to say, and for folks, you know, who don't know, I mean, Cooper is currently houseless. And just in that same way that all of us poverty scholars don't need politricks to help or to tell us, you know, what to do for each other. We know how to help each other. It's just that we need the resources and the stolen land back so that we can lift up our own solutions. So I just, again, want to give you big love, Cooper, because as a street medic, that's no joke. And also to underscore what you said, because myself and Israel and Mutiado and Tibu and a lot of us at POOR are out on the street 3 days a week. In Frisco, there's a containment zone in the TL. That's what that is. And don't anybody tell me otherwise. If you try to be houseless in the Mission anymore, oh, heck no. And I'm talking about disabled elders. Make you move. They don't care about COVID-19. They care more about they don't want to be seen. Us poor people. That's what that is. And it's the same as it's always been. So like this didn't start 2 months ago. Yeah. I want to ask Leroy, I guess we could see we have about 15 minutes left. Why don't you see if other folks want to ask questions?
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to unmute everybody who can ask questions. Please speak one at a time if we can. Okay.
I know Angel Heart. Are you still there, Angel Heart? Because she wanted to ask or chime in on somewhere.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm here.
Go for it.
Go.
Well, I just wanted to know how to chime in if needed be, because it wasn't working on my end. I didn't realize it was just the button.
Okay.
So I'm listening. Okay.
Okay. Anyone has any questions, please go ahead, or any of the guests want to ask anything else? I have a question if nobody else does.
I have a statement.
Please, go for it.
I just wanted to tell Cooper that it takes so much courage and bravery to do what you did. It doesn't matter how long, because I know when I stand, any of us, and I know Tiny can attest to that, and many of you here, that to stand out from everyone and say this isn't right, or to take over a piece of land.
They left it on the porch.
Takes a lot of courage and bravery. So I just applaud you for that. I snap you for that, because you know, it's especially
What the heck?
in a house, because they can retaliate against you. That's something that we deal with the residents. I represent about 130 to 150 residents, and I'm very conscious of that because I'm housed. What is the retaliation going to be on them who are staying there? So I just applaud you. It takes a great deal of strength, and that's tremendously inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Someone might need to mute themselves because we're hearing all your background. Anyone else have any other comments? Any other questions?
Audrey Candy Corn, I would just like to say, I don't know if this is the appropriate place, but if anybody is willing to help assist or knows how to go about it, I have been getting a few prison calls from incarcerated brothers and sisters who are letting me know that they are being retaliated against when it comes to the mask and stuff. So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, Audrey, I just wanted to answer. We did the last one of these sessions that we did was on all the jails and prisons. And so actually there's some folks that I need to put you in touch with. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Happy Mother's Day to you all. That's it for me.
For sure. Any other comments or questions?
I'd love to make a comment if I could.
Please, hon, go for it. Say, I'm sorry, is that you?
That's me.
Happy Mama Grandma Day.
Happy Mama Day to you. It's been a lovely day with my offspring, various distance visits and all. It's been lovely. I just wanted to say how much I'm just gratified by every word that I've heard in this meeting so far. In the fake world that we live in, like watching the news and going about, you know, it sounds like nothing is being done. And in this meeting, I kind of see powerful people, you know, taking charge of the community, loving their people, loving the earth.
It's funny.
It's been very inspirational to hear what everybody is doing. And I wanted to thank you all personally for what you're doing.
Each time I gave birth to my kids, so birthday is quite apt.
Thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
I wanted to say, I still think we're hearing somebody's background noise. I wanted to lift up a couple things that didn't get said. That's all good. Thank you, Samsar, for those beautiful words. I wanted to lift up a couple of things that are happening. because I don't know if Celia is still on the call, and Weston, but
still here.
Great. I just want to hold up something that is absolutely beautiful. But this just came in the mail.
Oh my gosh. It's
right? It's
What?
absolutely beautiful. This is original artwork, if some of you can see, by Celia.
Yes, beautiful.
And beautiful
Oh my God,
graphic
it's so
by
gorgeous.
Isa, and beautiful layout and editing by Weston and Leroy and myself. And anyway, it has the work and the words of Sherry and Karina and Andrea and Audrey Candy Corn and so many more. And I just want to lift up the fact that, again, we have our own solutions, we have our own work, and we can also create beautiful things too, right? And that art and culture is another way to survive. And I know that folks at Poor People's Army, Where Do We Go Berkeley, all of the beautiful birth work that Samsara does, and Karina and Sigorte Land Trust and Mama Audrey and Mama Blue, that art is something that also keeps us alive. And I feel like sometimes, let's be real, when they think about us poor people, they don't think about the art that we also do. As my Mama D used to say, we aren't considered artists, right? We didn't go to the art school. We didn't do all of these conventional paths, right? But art is our healing, art is our medicine, and art is also another channel to get these words out. So again, lifting up the work of also Western Regional Advocacy Project, the homeless in Sacramento, beautiful Crystal Rose Sanchez, and many more there, as well as Spirit and where Angel Heart and those folks have worked in Vallejo, occupied Miwok territory.
And the Women Warriors in Detroit.
That's right. That's right. The Welfare Warriors in here. So many more. Leroy's powerful words, and just a lot of beautiful folks. This is going to come out on May 24th. We're going to do a virtual book release, and so we're going to ask a lot of you guys to come back if you can and just read some of it. It'll be in this hour. We'll be dedicating one of these nights to that, and also that tomorrow, without saying it, comrades, because it's all covert, but let's just say a certain well-known Mexican filmmaker will be launching a documentary in Occupied Yolamu on COVID-19. And to do that, they will be checking into one of the most elite and hoarded hotels in Frisco. That's all I'm gonna say.
Everything.
Anyway, all that to say, there's stuff happening. There's stuff happening.
I'm gonna break your
We're
legs.
gonna close out. Hey, look who's there, Guillermo. Hey, Guillermo.
I came to do a good mother to give my mom her food. I'm gonna leave now.
We want to just tell people that we will be that you're lit. I'm going to give Leroy for the station ID, and then we're going to close out.
Yeah, so this is KEXU 96.1 FM LP, and you can listen to us on Thursdays and also on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, on the dial in Oakland 94.1 FM, on SoundCloud, Poor Magazine SoundCloud. Yeah.
And we always close, so you're welcome to join us when we say this. Change won't come from a savior, a pimp, or an institution. Change will only come from a poor people-led revolution. Thank you all, beautiful folks. This will be available on Poor News Network on YouTube. And so share it, put it out there. This is medicine, folks. All what y'all are doing, we don't need no politics. You guys are it. Much love. We will see you soon.
Thank you, Philly.
I love you guys. Bye.
Love you.
Thank you.
Love you all so much.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you, family.